Well, there was this interview which Trump gave to Fox TV, Mr. Hannity, and in that interview, he said several times that what the whole thrust of the Russia Gate, that it was a coup, that it was an attempt to oust him from office, that something like that normally would only happen in a third world country, and that the worst thing about the Mueller report was that it did not mention one word about all of this. And then naturally also that he will release all the documents related to the Christopher Steele report, to the FISA court, to the relevant persons in the FBI and the Department of Justice. So this is now hanging in the air, and I do not agree. I just listened to an American commentator who said this will change absolutely nothing. I mean, the implication of this is really incredible. Now, the mainstream media has completely blocked this out. I mean, here you have a situation where the American president says that there was a coup involving the British government, and you know there is no discussion about that. I mean, this is an unbelievable reflection of the complete Gleichschaltung, the complete control of the mainstream media on both sides of the Atlantic. Now, the only article I saw about this, maybe I missed some, but Politico had a short, relatively objective story, but there was, to my knowledge, no coverage in Europe at all. Now, that is unbelievable, but I don't think this will hold, because we had on our La Rouge Pack webcast an interview, or basically a show, which involved Barbara Boyd, Mr. Johnson, and Lawrence Johnson, and Bill Binney. And they basically, again, looked at the Mueller report and said that in the Mueller report, there is absolutely no proof about Russia meddling in the in the election or anything else, that these are just assertions, and that on the other side, the role of the GCHQ and British intelligence is what is really the most important aspect of any collusion. Now, if Trump goes ahead and releases these documents, and I think this will happen because also in the Congress there are motions in this direction, then naturally, eventually, the role of the British will become known. And this will not just have ramifications inside the United States, but just think what it will do in Russia. The Russians really, have been targeted by the British with many operations. Russiagate was the most important one, but there were all these false flag operations in Syria, which were blamed really on Russia. Then you had the so-called Skripal affair, which was also blamed on Russia, which is in all likelihood the same kind of operation. So in Russia, this will have a big effect, but also in China. The opium wars are not forgotten. In India, where the role of British imperialism and colonialism has been raised repeatedly in the recent period by this parliamentarian Sashi Tharoor, and he even wrote a whole book about it. Then in Africa, naturally, people have a big memory about British colonialism. So this will have a big, big effect. And I think it's really important that the truth being straightened out and this imperialism stops.